I think today it's losing almost $1 million a month, right? So any additional burden that you're going to put on it is going to cause it to be worse. If you think about today, it's one campus, the new assets, the old assets. You have event assets over here that are unpredictable revenue streams, and you have new assets that have predictable revenue streams, like the rinks, like the soccer, all that, right? You're keeping all the predictable revenue, and you're keeping all the predictable and new assets. I'm taking all the old ones with unpredictable revenue, and so the worry is we might lose more than 11 million bucks, okay? Because we have all the cost, and there's not great accounting, not a shot at anybody, but there's not great accounting by building. So, the reality is any additional load on this business starts to put the risk profile way too strong. Because it's one thing to say we're going to invest 100, but it's one thing to say we're going to lose $10 million ongoing forever. Okay, and of course that tends to grow. So there's not, and then I guess the last thing I'd follow up on these kind of assets. There's not another jurisdiction taxing them because they're owned by the cities. So the incentive for them not to be owned by the city and for them to be all the risk on the private person is that you don't tax them any more than you would tax yourself. And I think that's a fair compromise because what you gain versus what you lose nothing because you're getting nothing today, and you gain all of the moving of the risk to Brandt or the private investor this time versus leaving it on the citizens of Regina. So that's really the answer. So I would be not interested in that. I mean, we are obviously paying, I think it's 5% or whatever it is, but it's a token amount, which I still don't know what that amount is.
So I see this. Currently, we're not getting it, but we're giving up the land forever, right? Should we do this? We no longer are, is no longer under the public ownership. And I absolutely understand and would agree with you that given that you're making an investment, it makes sense that there is a period of time, and I could get behind a lengthy period of time where there is no taxes on that land. However, forever is a long time. So, and again, and I've also committed to asking these questions because those are the questions that residents are asking of me, and I don't have those answers because I'm not you. But when we're talking about forever, is there any way in which there is any budging of changing forever to a long time, right? To a more set period of time? Because eventually, I imagine, given all this, I think what you've presented is wonderful, and I imagine it's going to ideally make a profit and be good for both you, your company, and the city, right? So in that situation, is there any opportunity to change that deal?
There really isn't, because this is not a typical asset that you would buy. If we were buying a warehouse, that's a different story. If you're buying something that we could repurpose, it was a real estate transaction, that you could look at anything like that. We're buying a business that's going to stay in the same business for all intents and purposes, that's never made any money in this business, all on the basis that we have something magical that we're going to do at in our company and ourselves. It's going to turn this thing into a real moneymaker. Well, we got a lot of work to do. Like, we got an $11 million hole to dig out, and we got $70 million to generate just to fund what's there, plus what we have to capital invest before we get $1 of return, right? Before you get $1, that is a big mountain to climb. And so when you start piling on the taxes on it, and on these assets, if a council of the day in the future decided they want to get them back and jack the taxes up with a new tax rating, they could take and wipe out everything that we've invested in that property down the road, because this business isn't going to be able to afford much. Like, that's the reality of it. It's just not going to work. And so we definitely would be out if you're going to take that approach on these type of business. If it was a different business, one of Brandt's businesses, that'd be a different story. Be an incentive. This business just can't afford it. Just can't afford it.